Arizona baseball is Pac-12 champions. How did we get there? Let's celebrate.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. This show is brought to you today by LinkedIn. Okay, now, let's talk a little bit about, and hold on just a second here, that went away. All right, now we're going to talk Arizona baseball this show. All right, first of all, very, very good news. Your Arizona baseball team led by Chip Hale is your conference champions. And who would have really thought this was, who would have really seen this one coming? This was a team that was picked to finish 9th in the conference, but Arizona was able to win, and they were able to win the conference. How did we get here? Now, I know a lot of people are not big fans of Chip Hale. I am a fan of Chip Hale. And a big reason why is because I like Dave Hickey, and I think that Dave Hickey made a very, very good hire here with Chip Hale. Now, the first 2 years were a little bit rough. Don't think there's any doubt about that. But any good coach also figures out what they need to do. They come away and they say, all right, we need to be able to, adjust things. Now, the first couple of years, there was no doubt about it. Arizona had a lot of bats in the lineup, but the bats did not make up for the bad pitching. Arizona had very, very bad pitching. Dave Lawn was not a good pitching coach. Probably shouldn't have been here. But that was also kind of dealt with. That was I think something where a lot of people were like, yeah, I'm not really sure why this guy's here. What is he doing here? But Chip Hale, much to his credit, said, we got to do something different. And he brought in Kevin Vance. Kevin Vance is an amazing pitching coach. Out of Boston College, obviously, did a very, very good job here at the U of A. And watching this team, you could just tell that there was a different vibe. Again, they started off a little bit slow, and for what this is worth, I am far from a U of A baseball expert. I grew up, watching in the last stages of the Jerry Kindle into the Jerry Stitt era. But again, I'm not like a historian like I am on basketball and football. I am just kind of a casual fan. But you could kind of tell just kind of, watching this team from afar that it felt a little bit different. It felt a little bit more sustainable by about midseason because you had a staff that was able to, how do I put this? Pretty much just kind of put everything into play that needed to be put into play. And the pitching obviously was very, very good throughout the year. Now, I think a big question a lot of people have is, what do you do with Kevin Vance? Now, Arizona has certainly shown that it really, when it needs to up the ante, when it needs to be able to get in good pitching coach, or when it needs to be able to pay for good coaches, it's shown that it is able to do that. That is obviously a very, very good thing for Arizona baseball. We'll see if they can do it, though, or not. Maybe you even do something where you make Kevin Vance the coach in waiting. I don't know. I would imagine that Chip Hale plans on being here for quite a while longer. We will find that one out. But either way, this is also a situation where Arizona is in some pretty good shape, and Arizona's in a nice spot. Now, we'll get to Chip Hale in a second here, but we're also going to talk a little bit about the recruiting. Now, I think a lot of people were like, well, what was going to happen when Jay Johnson's players all left? Well, most of them are gone now, and you got the Pac-12 champion. So that's obviously a very good thing. And for the people out there that are saying, well, this is strictly Kevin Vance, this has nothing to do with Chip Hale, I would say yes and no. Kevin Vance has obviously done an amazing job, but it is also on Chip Hale to hire a really good coach to be able to ascertain, what his program needs, what they need to be able to do. And I think we're kind of at the stage now with Arizona baseball where if you can keep Kevin Vance, you got to feel pretty good about things. Now, I get people all the time, they're like, oh, well, the baseball class is rated, whatever the case may be. I do not care about baseball recruiting rankings. They mean absolutely nothing to me because, listen, if you bring in all the best players, guess what? They're probably not going to be here because they're going to get drafted. It's about finding kind of that middle ground, that middle ground, perfect little spot. And I think a big part of it though too is trusting your evaluation process. I mean, I remember when Delman Young signed here, the U of A. He was the #1 rated player in the country. Guess what? Delman Young never planned on coming to the U of A, so it meant nothing. It looked really cool on a sheet that you signed somebody that was going to be the #1 pick, whatever the case may be. Guess what? Those dudes aren't coming here. So baseball rankings to me are totally different than any other sport. I think it's impossible to sit there and quantify what they were. You just got to kind of go with what you see. Now, there are some people that are saying, well, the first 2 years of Chip Hale were absolute disasters. I mean, you made the playoffs each year. Granted, you want to finish higher in the conference than U of A did. I get all that, but here's where you're at now. And Oregon State, I do not care about how this happened. Like, there's ASU fans, these putzes on Twitter that are talking about, oh, well, you got destroyed in this series. Guess what? Arizona needed to win 1 game to win the conference. Guess what it did? It won 1 game to win the conference. That is how things go down. This is very much of a bottom line industry, period. This is a bottom line industry. And I think with Arizona, it's also very, very close. It's very easy to say that we're in a good spot here. Now, going into many people are saying that I sound like presidents. Many people are saying this, but many people are saying that you got to be able to make some damage come March come postseason, and they are right. You have to be able to do some work come postseason. Now, Jason Scheer and I have had a friendly season talking about Chip Hale. What do we expect? And Scheer is very much of a Chip Hale he's very much of a I'll believe it when I see it type thing. Now, part of this is personal with Scheer and I because I am a big Dave Hickey fan. Scheer is not a big Dave Hickey fan, but he admitted that the regular season was very much of a surprise. Chip should win the conference coach of the year. And I think that I don't think that there's really anything I don't think there's really any way to dispute that. So Chip should win the conference coach of the year. And I think he should be in some national consideration because keep in mind, this team was picked to finish 9th in the conference. Guess what? They won the conference. So there is a lot to like about that. And, looking at it, I'm not saying to give the guy a 13-year extension, but you win the conference. In a good conference, I think it's fair to say that you should probably get some kind of extension. And Arizona going into the Big 12 is obviously a very, very good omen because Pac-12 baseball is obviously very good. And I think with Arizona right now, you are in a spot where we should all feel pretty good about where everything is at. Okay, now with looking ahead though into the you got the conference tournament, and this is something that Chip Hale and his teams have done very, very well in the first couple years, finishing second once, fourth in the other. So if Arizona could win this, we feel pretty good, but there's no way. You can't make the case to me that Arizona should not host a regional. And if you host a regional, you should probably be able to get out of the regional. That means you're one of the 16 best teams in the country. If you're one of the 16 best teams in the country, then you are in some really good shape. And I think that with Arizona, there is every reason to believe that they should be, because here's the thing. Arizona from a pitching perspective has a pitching staff that can pretty much hang with anybody. And the bats are good enough. Now, the bats can go quiet at times, but the pitching staff has really what's kind of made everything. And we're going to talk about Chip and the banner seasons for all of these Arizona teams. But first, let's talk a little bit about LinkedIn, my friends. LinkedIn. Okay. Here's the great deal with LinkedIn. Everybody knows somebody that got a job through LinkedIn. I know somebody that got a job through LinkedIn. You know somebody that got a job through LinkedIn. It's because it works. Check it out, linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. all kinds of good stuff, And if you're looking to hire somebody, guess what? LinkedIn. If you're looking to find a job, guess what? LinkedIn. All kinds of really good stuff. And people, again, you're going to know a lot of people that got jobs. You're going to know a lot of people that got jobs, and that is because it works. So again, check it out, LinkedIn. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now, something that we've got to be very excited about. We're going to get back to a little bit of Arizona baseball. These were banner seasons all the way around for Arizona athletics. And a big part of that, obviously, is the coaches. Now, Tommy Lloyd won the Pac-12 Coach of the Year. Big stuff. Won the Pac-12 Coach of the Year, and he is somebody that I think you look around college basketball, name me that many coaches you'd rather have for the next 10 years. You're not going to find many. So again, Tommy Lloyd, obviously been a very good hire. Arizona won the Pac-12 championship. You're moving on to the Big 12. That is about to be a massive, massive endeavor for the U of A. And it should be a lot of fun though, because you're going into the best conference in college basketball, and you're going into a conference where people actually care about basketball. It is going to be a lot of fun. So there's that. We're at that point with the U of A. Now, when it comes to U of A football, Arizona just finished 11th in the country, and a big part of that obviously is that you got a loaded team. Next year has a loaded team as well. You've got Noah Fafita, you got Tetaroa McMillan, you got Jacob Manu, you got Jonas Sabanea, first-round pick on the line. You got multiple good picks on the line. You got Takario Davis as well coming back. This is a team that is loaded for bear. They should be able to do very, very well. Get it? Loaded for bear, a.k.a. bear down. That was funny. So and they're obviously in a very good spot. So you're going to have in Arizona basketball, you're going to have a preseason top 10 team. You're also going to have in Arizona football, you're going to have probably a preseason top 20 team with, I think, the expectation that they could be significantly better. Now, Arizona baseball is far from done, my friends, far from done. So with this team going into the Pac-12 tournament, you'd love to win it. I mean, to just continue to keep that momentum going. And then I think it helps your postseason. It helps your postseason possibilities in a big way. And I think that's something that we need to certainly keep an eye on. Is if Arizona has had a very, very nice regular season. Chip Hale's going to win the Conference Coach of the Year. You're probably going to have individuals that are going to win different awards as well. That is obviously a very good thing. What is the next step, though? And that is obviously winning the Pac-12 tournament, or at least, quitting yourself well. And I do believe a big part of this then is getting to a super regional. Now, there's been a lot of holdouts, a lot of Jason Shears out there that are saying, if Chip gets to a super regional, I will say my bad, Chip. Okay, totally get it. And even though I disagree with it, I don't hate that point, because again, if you get to a super regional, that basically means that you're one of the 16 best teams in the country. I think that's fair. But I think it's hard to say that with Arizona baseball that this wasn't a successful season, that Chip hasn't been a decent hire. But I get it. Arizona's got a really good pitching staff. They got to continue to keep continue to keep the momentum rolling. One thing I can assure you, after I went to that game, the middle game of the Oregon State series, I will not go back to another game. I will watch these games on TV. I wonder if I brought bad vibes to the team. I'm not sure that I did, but I'm also not sure that I didn't. I will stay away and watch from afar. But it's going to be fun, though. It's going to be fun. And honestly, Arizona baseball should be good. The way Jay Johnson left was kind of slimy. It certainly wasn't the way that that Jed Fish left, but it still kind of sucked. Let's be honest. It kind of sucked. And I think with Arizona, you are you got a guy here in Chip that wants to be here. That is a huge part of this, and I don't think Chip Hale wants to go anywhere else, nor do I think he would go anywhere else. And in this day and age where you've got a lot of coaches that basically are always looking for that next big opportunity, it's nice to have somebody there that's got a little bit of moment, or a little bit of stability. And I think Chip Hale is just pretty much a good dude. I think at the end of the day, Chip Hale is kind of a good guy. So we will keep it there. Now, with looking ahead though into the future a little bit, the big thing will be to sustain. We talked about it with Kevin Vance. Can you keep Kevin Vance around? And if you can't keep Kevin Vance around, can you get somebody in that can also be a really good pitching coach? That's a big part of this, because Dave Lawn obviously was not good enough. I don't think that I'm breaking any news. Dave Lawn was just not good enough. These dudes are obviously really, really good. It's changed the entire complexion of the team. It's changed the entire complexion of the roster. So you got to try to keep that in. But it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be really, really fun to watch where Arizona is able to go. Because again, this was a very, very good season. Arizona softball's kind of picked it up as well. I think what we're going to find out too is that Arizona baseball and Arizona softball are also going to be victim a little bit to the SEC crap, where I think Brian J. Peterson put this out a while back, where he said that every SEC team in college softball made the postseason. Okay, what are we doing here? I mean, seriously, what are we doing here? The bias that comes into play is certainly going to work against Arizona. It does help, though, that in Arizona you have national brands in baseball and softball that I think does kind of help you out a little bit. But you're also going to have to deal with this SEC crap, and that is going to be very, very annoying. We do not like that, but we will find that one out as it goes on. Either way, I think we need to really just kind of sit here and celebrate where Arizona's at now, because there's not been a lot of years where Arizona has been able to string together these kind of wins, these kind of successful seasons. And again, I'm going to give a lot of that to Dave Hickey. I think the guy gets beat up a lot. I get it. That's part of the job. But these were all, Arizona football, basketball, and baseball are all doing very, very well right now. And I think a big part of that obviously is Dave Hickey. So we will continue to give Dave Hickey credit on that, because Dave Hickey deserves credit on that. So we will obviously continue to talk about that. Now, as far as what's next, obviously we talked about it. The recruiting class isn't great, but I do not care about that. I'm going to care on the player development and exactly how that all works. And we'll talk about recruits for Arizona football, basketball, all of that next. But first, FanDuel. Check it out. FanDuel, my friends. Now, we might be in the time of the year where you don't care, where you're like, man, basketball's winding down, football's winding down. We got baseball here. Grr. Just saying baseball in general. I do not care about baseball generally, but if I want to bet a little bit of money, get a little bit of skin in the game, then it becomes a little bit more interesting. Check it out. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Great stuff going on, because, again, your money's good. You can bet before a game. You can bet after a game. You can bet during the game. After the game, you'd obviously have to go into the future, but you get the gist. All kinds of fun stuff there with FanDuel. Check it out, FanDuel.com/lockedon. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk a little bit of the future for these programs. We talked about it. And again, got to give a shout out to men's tennis as well. Big season for them. I think, we kind of get lost, and I fall into this trap big time about maybe not talking as much about some of the non-rev sports, the non-big name sports. But again, men's tennis, very, very impressive. Good work for men's tennis. Okay, but going into the following years, then Arizona basketball, you've got a top 10 team on your hands with Tommy Lloyd. I think it's fair to say that as long as Tommy Lloyd is here, Arizona is going to be in contention, because he can get players that he wants. Not only can he get players that he wants, he can get guys that fit into his system. He has shown that he knows how to navigate the transfer portal in a big way. His success rate with transfer portal players has been quite good. And his domestic recruiting is fantastic as well. He's getting the players that he needed. He's figured out some time, and he's gone ahead and he's done a pretty darn good job. Arizona is positioned well in the Big 12. Now, Big 12's loaded, obviously. Kansas is going to be the big dog. Obviously, you got Baylor. You got all these different schools. You got Baylor. You got Houston. You got Iowa State. I mean, heck, Kansas State, TCU, Cincinnati. You got a lot. I mean, there's going to be a lot of tough games to be played for sure. But Arizona is well equipped there with Tommy Lloyd at the helm. I am not breaking any news. Now, with Brent Brennan, I think with Brent Brennan, it's probably easy to say that he's going to be solid. I have no clue what his upside is. Where he is, this is going to be there's a big recruiting weekend, obviously, for him. We are going to talk about that a ton tomorrow. But this is also I have a hard time seeing Brent Brennan falling on his face. I could also see it being kind of a Dick Tomey thing where he's good, you know, every couple years and just kind of solid in between. But he needs to be able to just beat teams, and he needs to be able to really take care of business this coming season. He needs, in my opinion, 9-3 is the bare minimum, because if you're 9-3, then I think that you've got momentum. Heck, you go into the bowl game, maybe you get 10 wins. And Arizona in its history has never had 2 top 25 seasons in a row where they were ranked in both polls. That would be a big deal. That would be kind of uncharted waters. And I don't believe that there's any reason that he can't do that, because, again, you've got a star quarterback, you got a star wide receiver, you got to fix the line a little bit, but you got 4 really good players there. The defense under Dwayne Aquina, I don't have a ton of worries about. So Arizona should be good, I think, on both of those fronts. Again, I would say that Arizona's on solid footing going forward. Plus, kind of like Chip Hale, and Tommy Lloyd, I don't think Brent Brennan's going anywhere. I really don't. I think that Brent Brennan wants to be here. I think that he is a natural fit in this community. And I think this is the kind of job that he sees himself retiring at. We will find out. But like I said, I very much like the Brent Brennan at this point. And he obviously did a good enough job to be able to keep so many players that had so many different options that they could have gone to. So Arizona football, I believe, is well positioned going into the future to be able to play and to be able to perform at a high level. And then you've obviously got Arizona baseball. We're going to find out. Again, this was a big bounce back year for Chip, obviously. And how far can this team go? If they go far in the postseason, is Chip going to be able to capitalize on that? Will Chip be able to continue to build on that? Will somebody like Kevin Vance say, yep, I want to be part of that going forward, and heck, maybe I could be that next coach? We'll find out. But Arizona athletics is in a very good spot right now across the board. And again, I'm going to give a big shout out to my guy, Dave. And we will, we'll continue to see what the deal is. But basketball on very solid footing. Football appears to be on solid footing. And baseball is on more solid footing. And we're going to find out exactly what that is over the next couple weeks. Now, tomorrow, we're going to talk some Arizona football recruiting. It was a massive weekend for Arizona football. Plus, we're going to talk a little bit of KJ Lewis coming back. I am a big fan of KJ Lewis, as many of you know. I believe that there are some people that are sleeping on KJ Lewis. We will not allow that sleeping to occur. But, like I said, awesome time to be an Arizona fan. Conversely, look at ASU. Sucks in football, even though we like Dilly as a person. Sucks in basketball, baseball. So Arizona is in good shape. Arizona is the big dogs on the block. All right. But on that note, though, very, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. We will be back with you tomorrow. Bear down, back the A, and thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day.